Okay, so next step, we're going to do some keyword research. Now, I want to be 100% confident that you understand when I say keyword. A keyword and a keyword phrase, the two are interchangeable. So we're not talking about, for example, just the word anxiety as a keyword. A keyword phrase would be, for example, something like anxiety therapist Birmingham or anxiety therapist, something like that. And you are going to use, and I'll demo this shortly, you're going to use the Google Keyword Planner to identify these keyword phrases that you want to bid upon. And these keyword phrases will be things such as anxiety therapist Birmingham or hypnotherapist Bristol, etc., those type of things. Now, some of your keywords will have a town name within them, and in which case they belong in a town name campaign as per the previous video. Some, of course, may have no location or town name, and so those will belong in the general campaign. And I'm suspecting that you'll find once you start the keyword research, it may also give you some ideas of different landing pages or different ways in which you may want to advertise. And I'll talk about that shortly once we have a look through the keywords that come up. Okay, so we jump into Google. So I'm presuming that you've already got a Google AdWords account, at the very least set up, ready to go. And from here, we're going to use the top menu, Tools and Settings, and you're going to go to the Keyword Planner. Okay, we're then going to click on Discover New Ideas just here, and you're going to put in here something like anxiety therapist. If anxiety therapist, I'm going to tab across. So I press the tab key to make sure that it gave me an option to add a second one. And then if I then wanted to add the area in question, anxiety therapist Birmingham, all I want to do is give Google a couple of suggestions, and then I want to see what else Google comes up with. This is incredibly important. We cannot guess all of the keywords that our prospects might come up with. We're going to use Google to instead suggest what keywords our prospects might use and which we can bid upon. So if we now click on Get Results, okay, so we're then going to, let's have a quick browse through here. You can see that anxiety therapist it's saying that it's relatively high competition. That's because, of course, there's so many people. It believes bidding on it across the whole of the UK. Of course, yours will only be within a specific town, so I wouldn't worry too much about the competition. It's giving us some estimates of the bid. So I would generally aim to pick a bid which is near the top end. So in this case, I would probably just pick a bid of £2 and then just see where it got me. I don't get too concerned with bidding because you can always refine it a little bit over time. So I would just pick a bid, right? Okay, you can see these are generally around about the £2 mark. I would just think, right, okay, I'm going to be willing to bid up to £2 to get a single click, and then I'll just see whereabouts that gets me on the page. Now, what we're interested in is the other keywords underneath. And you can see that I would not suggest putting depression therapist in the same campaign because, of course, this is an anxiety campaign. However, you may see this and think, do you know what, I could imagine doing a different campaign for depression with a different landing page talking about how I can help with depression. And you'll find a number of examples of that here. So exposure therapy, for example, you might want a separate landing page set up for that one. OCD therapist, again, a separate one for that one. I only want you to pay attention to the ones that are very much anxiety therapist focused. So I would probably be looking at anxiety therapist near me, anxiety counselling near me, anything like that. Now, to work with the keywords, you've got a number of options here. You could download the keyword ideas and it'll download it into a very big spreadsheet. Or, for the purposes of this, let's keep it nice and simple. Just open Notepad or WordPad or something. And I am going to go and start copying and pasting these keywords into here. Okay, so I want that one. Whoops. Not sure what happened there. Anxiety therapist near me. Anxiety counselling near me. So I'm just going to keep going through. Social anxiety therapy. I would probably set up a different landing page for that one. Therapist aid anxiety. I'm presuming that means as in therapist to aid anxiety. Okay, so I would, yep, I'd have that one. Best therapy for anxiety. Now, funnily enough, because they've not put therapist, because they've put best therapy for anxiety, there is a very clear difference in the language they're using. To me, that is not somebody that is ready to commit. They're not looking to buy. They're not looking to call a therapist. I would not bid on that one. So now that doesn't mean to say that you couldn't test it if you didn't want to, and some of you may wish to. However, I personally would suggest starting at the top level where people are really clear they want a therapist right now, and those are going to be your buying keywords. Phobia therapy, depression and anxiety therapist near me. Okay, so if your landing page covers how you could help with both anxiety and depression, you could have that one, for example. Psychologist near me. Now, of course, if you're trained in psychology, you could have that one in. So I would, if you do cover child anxiety, I would have that one in there as well. So anxiety therapist aid, I would go through all the way to the bottom, and obviously for the purposes of expediency I'm not going to do so, and you're going to come up with a list of probably around about 20 or 30 keywords. Now, those keywords, what we're then going to do with them is we're then going to, each of these will become an ad group inside a campaign. Now, I'll show you the campaign structure and we'll set one up together in a minute. But the actual keywords and how people use them is very important to note that even though we've put in anxiety therapist Birmingham, anxiety therapist near me, anxiety counselling near me, when we add the keywords to Google, we are going to let Google find slightly different keywords as well. And that means that some of these, if there's something that you particularly don't want to offer, you may want to look through this and think, right, okay, I never want to be found for that. So let's say, for example, you never want to be covered for anything to do with groups, social anxiety group therapy. Let's say that you never want to cover children. So I might put child and children. So what we would do here is make a slightly different list underneath. So these are going to be your good keywords, and these are going to be the negative keywords. And that's because in order to get enough traffic on Google, in order that Google actually wants to show our ads, especially against the big guys, those well-established advertisers, we want to give Google some free rein. And we're going to do that by adding these exact match keywords, phrase match keywords, and modified broad match keywords I mentioned before. Now we're going to add those shortly, and I'm going to specifically explain why and what they do. But for the purposes of this, at this stage of the demonstration, I just want you to be aware the fact that you're going to come up for slightly different terms. So although you've said anxiety therapist, you are not going to come up only for those specific words. So if there's anything in here that you think, right, okay, I never want to cover agoraphobia, for example, I would be adding those in as negative therapists into your little list of keywords. Okay, right, so what I would do at this stage is go and save your keywords, and I would make sure I had stored them. So you're probably going to want to spend, I would estimate, around about 20 minutes or so doing this exercise. And it may be that not a lot comes up with your town name. That's okay. We're going to ignore it and we're going to make up a couple of our own, and Google may or may not decide to start showing those, so I wouldn't worry too much if there's not that many that have got a town name in. The important thing is that you've got a good list of keywords. It might be that you've got 10, might be that you've got 50. However many keywords you've got, that's fantastic. That's what we're going to be using for the setup stage that we're going to be coming on to shortly.